Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mission Dharma. I'm David Lewis, and I will be your pilot this evening. So while people are signing on, make yourselves comfortable. Finding a posture, whether it be seated, lying down, standing, or even walking if you're feeling restless. Finding a body posture that allows you to both feel relaxed and alert. That's the careful balance that we try to achieve in meditation practice. Relaxed body, relaxed mind, yet alert to whatever's going on in our experience. Our theme this evening is abiding in the present moment. So, one reminder is that this moment is the single most important moment of your life. This present moment right now, the here and now, is when you're actually abiding in reality. Everything else is cognitive overlay that's mostly about the future or the past. So let go of all that if you're able to, perhaps with a deep breath or two, letting go with the out breath, and arriving in the here and now. Settling into your seat. And feeling the touch points of the body in its seat. The way we know we're fully present, the way we experience being fully present, and the reality of the present moment is only done through our 6 sense doors. Seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, or feeling. If we let our eyes gently close, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, you might find that other sense doors open up. Perhaps most predominantly the sense door of hearing to start. We become aware of sounds in our environment. Perhaps sounds coming from outside. Or if you have tinnitus like I do, sounds coming from inside. Hearing can be a meditation object that grounds us in the present, in the same way that we often use the breath to ground us in the present moment. So relax and breathe. And just settle in to the here and now with whatever's going on. You don't have to be perfectly comfortable. You may have aches and pains. You may still have a busy mind from the day up to now. And just notice that that's going on. Whatever's going on in our experience, our mental experience, our physical experience is just like this. And one thing we can rely on is it will change. Noticing that change can be an object of meditation as well. Really, an object of meditation is anything that you're aware of becomes an object. Nothing left out. So the invitation is to sit back and relax and simply receive whatever our experience is bringing us in this moment. This, the most important moment in your life. And now, this moment. Allowing the body to settle in its seat and inviting the mind to settle into the body, just as the body settled into its seat. Bringing it all together. And if the mind perhaps feels tightly wound from the busyness of the day, just let it unfurl. And see what it catches. Abiding in this moment. It's the greatest gift that we could give ourselves. Taking a break from the busyness of our everyday lives. Taking a break from the news. Taking a break from whatever's been preoccupying us. Even if it's only just for this hour, we can be present. And in doing so, know that presence is accessible to us any time of the day. It's one of the gifts of practice. To remind ourselves, oh, I can do this anytime. And appreciating this, the most important moment. No matter what's going on. No matter how silly or scary. The present is a gift we give ourselves. and relax. Noticing any areas of tension in body or mind that perhaps we can invite to soften. There's no place we need to be other than here. Nothing we need to do. Other than pay attention with gentle awareness. Being present in this body right now is like this. No need to control anything. Just accept the moment as it is, with gratitude. And love. And appreciation. For the gift of this practice. So you may be one who likes to maintain a narrow focus on the breath or on sounds or perhaps on a mantra to focus the mind and relax. Or you may choose to open up your awareness to whatever's happening in the present moment. Including thoughts arising and passing away. Thoughts are not a problem in meditation. As long as we simply allow them to come and go of their own volition. Thoughts are no different than sounds, meeting ear consciousness. We don't invite sounds, they simply happen, and then they're gone. And we notice them. And that's how thoughts arise in mind consciousness. They arise, they pass away. Unless we get attached. And that may happen. It's our habit during the course of the day to get attached. But if we're mindful, we notice that that's happened. And that's an opportunity to gently let go of whatever we got attached to. And bring our attention perhaps back to the body, back to the breath. Grounding ourselves once again in the present moment. As often as we need to do that in meditation. So continue practicing in whatever way is most beneficial for you, most comfortable. I'll just be quiet for a while. And I'll ring a bell at the end. If the mind has wandered, it's not a problem. Simply notice that that's happened. Gently bring your attention back to the breath, to the body. Ground yourself in the present once again. And this moment too is important. Honor it by noticing what it offers. In the last moments of this meditation, allow the sound of the bell to just be received experience, another phenomena. It's not marking the end of anything, it's not marking the beginning of anything. And try to carry on your mindfulness into the Dharma talk. It is so good to sit in stillness with others. Such a gift. For those of you that signed on after my introduction, I'm David Lewis. I'm offering the talk this evening. I was here at Mission Dharma a couple of months ago and offered a talk about, another talk about befriending the present moment. And this talk was kind of meant to be a follow-up to that. But it doesn't matter whether you were here then or not or remember any of it. And I'm actually not going to say anything this evening that you need to remember. But I'd like to stick with that theme because it's alive for me in my practice. The theme of being present, including how we can drop into the present moment, not only in meditation, but in everyday life, whenever we need a break, whenever we need to ground ourselves. In that first talk I gave a couple of months ago, I ended it with a quote from Pico Iyer, who said that sitting still is a way of falling in love with the world and everything in it. And at the end of that talk, someone said, well, that's all well and good, but how do we know that we are present? And what does that look like? And that was a good question, which I'm not sure I had a good answer for last time, but it stuck with me, and I think I'm prepared to address it this evening. And also, this evening, I decided that in these trying times, we could all use a little something different in a Dharma talk. So that's what you're going to get, and I hope you enjoy it. As I said a couple of months ago, being fully present is not an intellectual experience. It's a sensual experience. As I said in the instructions, we can only directly experience the present moment through the 6 sense doors of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and cognizing. That's reality. Everything else is just a cognitive overlay. In my experience, the people who are best at describing the experience of the present are not Dharma teachers, but rather artists and poets. So this evening's Dharma is largely a gift of the poet Mary Oliver, who died in 2019. And while Mary Oliver was not a Buddhist, she had a very Buddhist perspective on the world and often drew on Buddha Dharma in her work and in her life, as we shall see. She was awake to the Dharma, which one of the definitions of Dharma is just the nature of things. and she had a very high regard for the importance of attention, or mindfulness. She famously said, "To pay attention, this is our endless and proper work." That line could be a summation of the Buddha's mindfulness instructions. Krishnamurti noted that to pay attention means we care, which means we really love. Attention is the most basic form of love, he said. By paying attention, we let ourselves be touched by life, and our hearts naturally become more open and engaged. Simply abiding in the present moment gives us a break from our cares and our worries. I hope some of you experienced that in your meditation just now. This refuge is always available to us, no matter what's going on in our lives and the world. In troubled times like these, it's more important than ever that we can find a refuge from the cacophony of news and the demands of life. Meditation is one such refuge. Poetry is another. In Mission Dharma, you get the gift of both this evening. So I'd like to share a few of Mary Oliver's poems that touch on Dharma and the present moment. And I'll add some reflections on how love and wonder and joy unfold through mindfulness of the present moment. So feel free, if you'd like to once again get comfortable, but if you'd like to close your eyes and just let the images of Mary Oliver's poetry wash over you, or not, close your eyes, whatever you're comfortable with. As I said, it's nothing you need to remember. These are pictures of the present moment. The first is called Invitation. Oh, do you have the time to linger for just a little while out of your busy and very important day for the goldfinches that have gathered in the field of thistles? For a musical battle to see who can sing the highest note or the lowest, or the most expressive of mirth, or the most tender. Their strong, blunt beaks drape the air as they strive melodiously, not for your sake and not for mine, not for the sake of winning, but for sheer delight and gratitude. Believe us, they say. It is a serious thing just to be alive on this fresh morning in the broken world. I beg of you, do not walk by without pausing to attend to this rather ridiculous performance. It could mean something. It could mean everything. It could be what Rilke meant when he wrote, "You must change your life." When Mary Oliver instructs us in this poem to not walk by without pausing to attend to this rather ridiculous performance, she's reminding us that by paying attention or mindfulness, it's a fundamental to freedom and joy. That it is, in her words, our endless and proper work. Missing out on the present moment is missing out on life. In her poem, Mindful, she is even more explicit. She says, "Every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab. The daily presentations. O good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. These are experiences of losing ourselves in the present moment. And they're what the Buddha called moments of tathata, or suchness. Tathata is a Pali word that really has no translation in English. Sometimes it's translated as suchness. They are those lovely moments when we directly experience the beauty of the world through our sense doors. In that poem, Mary Oliver's prayers are not petitions or requests of God. They are the prayers that are made of grass. We've all experienced moments of tathata. They're quite common. Brief moments of being stopped in our tracks by wonder. One of my favorite literary examples of this is from the writer Ocean Vuong, who was struck dumb when, quote, a trio of tulips in an earthenware pot stopped me in the middle of my mind. He saw that the most extraordinary thing about this experience he had was not just the beauty of a pot of tulips, but the fact that his mind stopped. When we experience moments of tathata like this, we acknowledge the beauty of the object, but we might not notice that the joy arises because the mind is stopped. We might not even notice that the mind is stopped, as he did. But what's happened is we've dropped into the present moment. Nature can do that, and art. Maria Popova suggests that if wonder springs from the quality of attention we pay to things, and joy springs from our capacity for presence with wonder, that the quality of our attention shapes the quality of our lives. So what you were doing in meditation this evening, no matter what you were noticing, no matter what you were paying attention to, was terribly important. The quality of our attention shapes the quality of our lives. Moments of tathata aren't just triggered by extraordinary experiences like a beautiful sunset or the view from a mountaintop. Certainly that, but not only that. If we are mindful, they can be quite ordinary. In that poem I just read, as Mary Oliver says, she's not talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab. In the Zen tradition, there's a saying, chop wood, carry water. And actually the expression is, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Waking up is not a cognitive experience. It's about being mindful in everyday life of the beauty and significance of ordinary things. This is the everyday awakening that is available to each one of us, if and when we pay attention. Not after years of practice and study, but right now, today, in this moment. It's a different way of seeing and appreciating our experience, and one that's well worth cultivating. Walt Whitman understood it when he said, "To me, every hour of the day and night is an unspeakable, perfect miracle." Here's another poem by Mary Oliver called "The Summer Day." Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one that has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last, and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? As Oliver says elsewhere, all eternity is in the moment. Like Rumi, the Persian poet and Sufi mystic, she connects the concrete to the spiritual. And by the way, I could have given the same talk using Rumi instead of Mary Oliver. The Buddha avoided metaphysical questions like, what is the meaning of life? He was more interested in how things work. And we learn about how things work through our direct experience of the present moment by simply paying attention. The American Buddhist teacher, Alan Watts, observed that meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment. So if you want to know the point of life, just sit quietly and pay attention. Some of you may know Mary Oliver's poem, Wild Geese. It gets quoted a lot by Dharma teachers. And she reminds us that you do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. This is a poem about dukkha, and about freedom from dukkha. In life, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Even in the midst of despair, life goes on, and you have a place in the family of things. It reminds me of someone told me that a Native American expression for all beings are all sentient beings are all my family, all my relations. So just take a moment and notice how you're feeling right now. What's going on with the body? Remember to breathe. This too is the most important moment. In her poem, The Blackwater Woods, Mary Oliver directs our attention. Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds. And every pond, no matter what it is, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I've ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this. The fires and the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing that your own life depends upon it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. These are poems about wonder, impermanence, and interconnection. Sally Tisdale, who's the author of a book called The Women of the Way, advises us to know that your precious, infinitely beloved, and irreplaceable self will dissolve like a sandcastle, grain by grain, and what a relief it is to know. You exist in a great space of knowing, filled with the sheer ephemerability of all things. Mary Oliver also wrote about death and the Buddha quite directly in her poem, The Buddha's Last Instruction. It goes like this. Make yourself a light, said the Buddha before he died. I think of this every morning as the east begins to tear off its many clouds of darkness, to send up the first signal, a white fan streaked with pink and violet, even green. An old man, he lay down between the two sala trees, and he might have said anything, knowing it was his final hour. The light burns upward. It thickens and settles over the fields. Around him, the villagers gathered and stretched forward to listen. Even before the sun itself hangs disattached in the blue air, I am touched everywhere by its ocean of yellow waves. No doubt he thought of everything that had happened in his difficult life, And then I feel the sun itself as it blazes over the hills like a million flowers on fire. Clearly, I'm not needed. Yet I feel myself turning into something of inexplicable value. Slowly beneath the branches, he raised his head and looked into the faces of that frightened crowd. Oliver's quote of the Buddha's last instruction that she started that poem out with, "Make yourself light," is a shortened version of his actual dying discourse as we know it. An expanded translation of that line goes something like this. The Buddha said, "I was only able to point the way for you. Be a lamp unto yourself. Be a refuge to yourself. Take yourself to no external refuge." Essentially, the Buddha was telling his followers that he himself and his teachings were not the source of well-being, peace, and wisdom. Instead, he reminded them that to become fully free, they needed to find the truth for themselves and within themselves. The Buddha ended his final discourse by saying, "Life is short. All individual things pass away. Strive on with diligence." An alternate translation of this advice, of the Buddha's last words, through a Zen lens, is carved on the Han, which the Han is the wooden block that calls practitioners to the Zendo. They use a wooden block instead of a bell. And carved on the Han, carved on that wood block, are these words from the Buddha. "May I respectfully remind you, great is the matter of birth and death. All is impermanent, quickly passing. Be awake each moment. Don't waste this life." This may have been what Mary Oliver was referring to her in her own way when she asked, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" So I'll close with a quote from Hannah Arendt, who was neither a poet nor a Buddhist, but she understood the Dharma as the nature of things. She also understood surviving difficult times. She was a 20th century German-American historian who famously reported on the Nazi phenomena. And here's what Hannah Arendt said. "Fearlessness is what love seeks. Such fearlessness exists only in the complete calm that can no longer be shaken by the events expected of the future. Hence, the only valid tense is the present, the now." So, thank you for your kind attention. I hope you enjoyed the poetry. I did. It was not a very cognitively oriented talk, but that was intentional. I thought we could all use a little poetry in our world this evening. But I'd love to hear if what's up for you. If that talk triggered anything or reminded you of anything, or anything about your practice, your sit this evening. Or any questions or comments you might have. Mary Gold, please. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Dave. That was great. That was really wonderful. It's really beautifully done. I love her poetry. I'm a big fan, and I've been reading Hannah's work lately. It's very timely, unfortunately. So I thought that was beautifully done, and a wonderful meditation too that I made it just in time and needed it. And it was lovely and really unexpected, unusual, and it was very beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary. That was my intention. So hearing you say that makes me happy. Again, I was really happy to find that quote from Hannah Arendt because that's not the way we think of her generally, as someone that's celebrating the present moment and love. Um, she was kind of a fierce thinker, a fierce political thinker, but it's a really good reminder for our times that yes, we need to be taking action to maintain our freedom in this world, and we need to be loving the world at the same time we're doing that. It all comes together. Anyone else? Hey, Noemi, nice to see you.
I just wanted to say thank you. I almost didn't come tonight, but I'm glad I did. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. And I guess I'm having an issue with motivation, and um, so oh, I mean, I did try to sit with the lack of motivation. I mean, I motivated myself enough to come here, but it took a lot of motivation to do that. So what's your suggestion for motivation when it comes to sitting?
Well, maybe not to try too hard. I mean, something motivated you to join us this evening, and I'm glad you did. Um, but maybe it's just the memory of, oh, this has been beneficial before, so maybe it'll be beneficial again. Maybe motivation could be a much simpler thing than we think it is. And just like, oh, let's try a little quiet time for a change.
Thank you.
Maybe less motivation, and just quietly paying attention.
Maybe not thinking about whether it's motivating or not. I don't know.
Yep, that's it. You just answered your own question. Thank you. It's always good to see you,
Thank
Noemi.
you, David. Oh, it's good seeing you, David.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else? I hope you're moved to be present, either in the form of meditation practice, which is a great, that's a way of practicing being present, or in daily life, and maybe motivated to read some poetry, which can be a lovely refuge. I keep a book of poetry by my bed, and generally I read a poem or two before I go to sleep at night because I figure that's a good way to send myself off. right at the moment is Jane Hirschfield. It doesn't have to be poetry, though. It could be art. It could be nature. It can be the soft fur of your favorite household animal, reminding us to be present. Trisha, hi, please.
Hi. I really appreciated your talk this evening and your offering of poetry, other people's words and insights. And it just kind of reminded me when you said you did it before you go to bed. I used to do that. I took a year to live with Vinny. I forgot his last name, a few years ago before COVID. Yeah, somebody said it. And I don't even know if this was one of our instructions, but we did a lot of things to, try to be more in the present moment and and to prepare for our death. And one thing I decided to do was to create a book of poetry, my favorite poetry. Not that I've written, I wish I was a writer, but I'm not, but my favorite poetry. So I'd like to go back to that. You kind of reminded me of that. I used to read a lot more and then put my favorite ones down in a book. So if there ever comes a point in my life where I can no longer read, or if I can read and I can't talk or something, I have this book of my life of favorite poems. So thank you for that reminder.
Oh, that's a beautiful idea. Yeah. Yeah, it can be anything. And we can pick any experience to remind us to be mindful and present. It could be washing the dishes. It could be chopping wood, carrying water, as I said in the talk. Uh, it's kind of useful to pick little everyday events in life that just pick a couple that you particularly enjoy and let them be reminders of the present.
Thank you.
Reminders to be present. Mary, please, Mary Gold.
I just wanted to share he has passed away now. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was I think the first poet laureate here in Santa Barbara. And he's was a Buddhist and used to come to one of my meditation groups and read poetry. And I don't know if you're familiar with him. His name was Barry Sachs. He's passed away now for several years.
Yeah,
Do
that
you
rings
know him?
a bell. Well, not personally, but the name rings a
Oh,
bell.
yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe I've just.
Well, he was from New York, a Jewish man, and wonderful poet. And he had an element of humor in his poetry as well as very Zen kind of thing. And one of my favorite poems of all time was by him called "The Sandwich," and it's where he's out with a friend and eating a sandwich, and he's kind of busy talking to him and thinking about his poetry and how he's being published or going to be famous or things like that. And all of a sudden, he realizes he only has a little bit of this sandwich left, like a quarter. And suddenly he brings himself into the present moment and is like cherishing like this last part of the tomato and it's absolutely a very delightful but very meaningful poem to like bring ourselves back into, instead of thinking of the future and the past and all our little fantasies of glory or whatever, that he came back into the enjoyment of this very mundane moment. It's really very charming. So anyway, I do recommend him very much. As I love his poetry because it has quite a bit of humor to it as well.
Yeah, how many times have we eaten a sandwich and thought, how did that happen?
Right, it's gone.
Where did it go?
And I forgot to enjoy it because I was busy having conversations, whatever. Yeah, it's
Or
that's
that feeling you get when you're walking or even driving someplace and you really can't remember how you got from point A to point B. You just did it.
right. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Has Howie read his or recited one of his favorite poems, "Bugs in the Bowl," lately?
No, I haven't heard that. Who's it by?
Oh, geez, it's I'm not gonna be, I don't have it memorized. I wish I did. It's by um, it's based on a medieval Chinese poet named Han Zhan, and it's translated by oh, I'm having a senior moment. A Buddhist poet that lives in rural Vermont, and he's both a poet and he's a translator of Chinese poetry.
I'll try and look it up. If not, I'll ask Howie next week.
Yeah, try Googling bugs in a bowl. It's hilarious. It's a really funny.
Bugs in a bowl?
Bugs in a bowl.
In a bowl. Okay, you got it. Sounds like a similar idea.
Yep.
And when I was a teenage girl, I discovered Edna St. Vincent Millay, who was also a wonderful poet. And she has a great poem that's like enough to be like a little book called Renaissance that's about a similar kind of thing. And even though I didn't know anything about meditation when I was 16, I was very struck by the essence of that poem as well, very similar.
Oh, thank you, Mary. And we are pretty close to the end of our time. I don't know, where did that go? Where did that time go? At least I was having a good time. So back to Mary. Do we have some announcements, perhaps?
Yes, we have a couple opportunities to practice with Howie in person. Coming up in August, he's doing a day long on the land at Spirit Rock. There is no hybrid option, so you need to be in the Bay Area to participate. And then there's also just a few more spaces left in the Labor Day retreat, which is August 27th through September 1st, which will be Howie and a few other wonderful teachers. I believe Tara Mulay is one of those teachers. So that is a wonderful opportunity. And then just as a word about Donna, and just a reminder that generosity is actually a practice of cultivating joy. And so the offering of Donna is an opportunity to cultivate joy. The Buddha talked about we should delight in thinking of giving. We delight in the act of giving, and we delight in the memory of giving. So rather than sometimes we just get into a habit of whatever, where it's just like you throw some money, but really just taking it in, right? And letting yourself feel the joy of the goodness of offering Donna and supporting David and supporting Howie, supporting Mission Dharma. So thank you. And I also put the link for the poem Bugs in a Bowl in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Mary.
Thanks.
I'll try to do that.
So while some of you may be checking that out, let's just take a moment to offer the merit of our practice, recognizing in the same way that we want peace and ease in our own lives and the lives of those we love around us. We wish for peace and ease for all beings. May all beings be safe from danger and harm. May they be healthy in body and mind. And may they live with peace and ease and be free of suffering. May it be so. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
I'll be back
David.
next week.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
Thank
Really
you,
enjoyed